Okay, welcome Daniel. Welcome to Rate. For everyone, we're talking to Daniel Bingham from Ubisoft Quebec, the scriptwriter of Assassinins Creed Odyssey. Welcome to South Africa.
Thank you.
Your first time visiting?
It is. And it's been amazing.
Okay, awesome. Do you have some time to spend after the expo to tour or to go to a game park?
Yeah, actually, tomorrow evening, that's what we're going to be doing. Where are we going?
We are going to the Ivy Tree Lodge in Petersburg.
Oh wow, very nice.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So I see this is your first game that you wrote.
Yes.
And before that you've been comedy writing, stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that and how you got to gaming.
Oh man, that's a long journey. So I always describe it, I have my two paths. I have my video game relationship path, and then I have my creative storytelling path. So I always grew up loving games, playing games my entire life. But then at one point I had to kind of give them up to focus on my career.
Yes.
Now, I studied script writing and media and film and television in university, and then I went on to be a stand-up comedian, and I just love telling stories. And then the longer I did that, I realized that I needed more people. I wrote 2 one-man shows, and I needed a team to help me get that off the ground. And I found that collaboration really makes a project much, much better.
Yeah.
My work was just, I couldn't have made what I made without the help of others. So I decided to get back into script writing. I wanted to move towards more like television and film to collaborate with more people.
Yes.
And at that same time, I got back into games, and someone handed me The Last of Us to play.
Oh yeah.
And it just blew me away. The storytelling, the character building, I was shocked. And it planted the seed that video games were an amazing medium to tell stories. So when I graduated from school, the Quebec studio was looking for writers. I happened to know one of my classmates was dating the narrative director, Mel McCoubry, who worked on Syndicate.
Oh yes.
So, she said, well, send him our way, send him. So I sent my portfolio to them, and they liked my writing. And then it all just kind of came together.
Oh, that's awesome. So how do you think storytelling has become a crucial part of gaming these days? So how do you see that going forward, and what would you like to work on going forward?
Oh man, storytelling, like I said, I really think I found my home at the Quebec studio with this team. It is the most collaborative experience I've ever had in terms of storytelling, because I get to work on a daily basis with artists, with the audio team, with the actors on the motion capture floor, character artists. It's amazing. I think it really is the most exciting and collaborative medium to tell stories, and I think they're only just going to get better. With Assassinins Creed Odyssey, it's the first time that we've started using interactive cinematic dialogues, so where you can actually role play your character, and it's a new way of storytelling for me, because I was always used to linear storytelling.
Yes.
That has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yes.
And now I have to learn how to, put the end before the beginning.
Yes, and then the in-betweens, kind of like...
Absolutely. Like if you go to meet someone and they have a quest for you, I have to think like, man, what if you already finished the quest before talking to this guy? And then when you talk to this guy and you make some choices and you say some things, maybe maybe you upset him or ruin his day. And then how is the woman in the village how's that going to affect her life? And so it's really this complicated web of storytelling now that was really exciting and really challenging.
So with Odyssey, what was the thing that was the most unexpected? So obviously, like you say, you have to start with the end in mind, and then you start building the middle. So what just jumped at you and was really unexpected?
Unexpected. Well, since it is my first video game, everything was unexpected. I guess what was unexpected is how fast things change. You know, how quickly entire quest lines would have to change the story, how some stories would get completely removed, just how fast everything moves on a day-to-day basis. Like I always learned that writing is rewriting, and I think never have I experienced it like this, you know, because it's such a technical medium, you know, and so sometimes what I'm writing will have to be changed because they had to move the location to another town, or suddenly the character changes. It's going to switch from a male to a female for some reason, and that will change the story. Or we have to switch the name of the temple that you go to because it's not historically accurate to. You know what? Also, the historical consulting with a historian on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That's where along the way I met with a lot of unexpected situations, you know, where I didn't even realize. For instance, in ancient Greece, when they would sacrifice animals a lot before they would do anything, you know, it's like their sacrifice to the gods, and if the gods didn't approve, then they wouldn't move forward. And so I was writing a quest about, you know, you had to go. People were sick, and the priest asked to get an animal sacrifice, and so you're sent off to collect this white bull. What I didn't know after consulting the historian is that what they would do is they would pour water on the heads of the animals, and if the animal nodded its head, depending on the direction of where the water would go, would determine whether the animal was willing to participate, and only willing participants were considered valid sacrifices.
That's very interesting. That is cool.
So it was things like that that would always surprise me.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Did you before you started? Did you actually did Greek mythology actually fascinate you, or did you like more like the either Roman or Egyptian mythology instead of that mythology?
It's a great question because I grew up loving Greek mythology. You know, as a kid, I was always big into fantasy. So those mythological stories, I loved it, like the gods and the monsters, and that old 80s movie Clash of the Titans. I don't know if you guys remember that. That movie just blew me away as a kid. Like, Medusa was terrifying. It's almost laughable when you go back now. Actually, I still think the Medusa in that movie is scarier than any of the CG animated Medusas they come up with afterwards. But man, I always loved Greek mythology. I studied it in university. I mean, I studied communications, but I did a lot of side quests. Exactly. Like Homer's, you know, I was a big fan of Homer and the Iliad and the Odyssey, and so I always loved that stuff. And I didn't even know that it wasn't until I had moved to Quebec City from Toronto. I arrived there day one, and they're like, you're going to be working on Assassin's Creed. It's set in ancient Greece, Sparta versus Athens, and honest to God, tears almost filled my eyes because it was just a dream. Like, I didn't even know that was. It's been amazing to.
How many times did you think of the 300 the 300 part when you wrote the script for Odyssey?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So I worked on a lot of the opening scenes with Leonidas, like the hardest part was trying to forget the movie 300. You know what I mean? Like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I was a huge fan of the graphic novel first. I really enjoyed the movie. And so the thing is that a lot of what happened in that story, the Battle of 300, and also Gates of Fire, an amazing book by Stephen Pressfield. He's a great historical fiction author. And so it's been so well documented that you can't really stray too much from what actually happened.
Yeah.
So trying to make it different, trying to make Leonidas different than the Gerard Butler, you know. Although we do have the Spartan kick in the game. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's one of my favorite features. there's nothing more satisfying than kicking someone off their boat, and then as they swim back to the boat, watching a shark eat them on the way back. It's
That's cool. And I guess that's what's kind of hard with the Greek mythology as well, is that it is so deep and so vast, but at the same time, a lot of stories has been told so many times that people know the stories.
Yeah.
So was that tricky with a lot of the other scenes?
Absolutely. Trying to not be cliche, trying to make it unique, trying to put our own spin on it while still remaining authentic. I think what really helped with that was having our historian on board, because she could provide us with details that you don't find in a lot of stories. You know, so it was just inserting those little details that I think made it a little bit different.
That actually brings up the authenticity. Now, I think that's what helped with the Origins.
Yeah.
The same. I think because they also worked with a historian for the game. So my other question would be, what would be if you could pick now from the ancient times, which race would you actually now, if you were to, if it was your choice, who would be the next Assassin's Creed race that you would, that we would make the most? Sorry, I'm mainly Afrikaans, so I'm thinking in Afrikaans and I'm trying to get the right English words to get to what I want to actually.
I mean, honestly, we've been so focused on Odyssey and ancient Greece. I can't even begin to start thinking outside of that yet. I mean, we're still working on it now. You know, we've got a lot of post-launch content coming out, and so right now I've got nothing but Greece on the brain.
So on the Expo itself, what do you think of our Rage Expo, and how do you think it compares to overseas?
I mean, it's amazing. It's been a blast. Everyone is super friendly, super excited. It's really exciting to me, just such passionate Assassin's Creed fans this far away from home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's been absolutely awesome. And again, I always wish I could capture the enthusiasm of the fans and put it in a bottle and bring it back to the studio.
Yes,
because
so they can
I'm really lucky
now.
and grateful I get to come here and meet with the fans and meet with you guys. And there's hundreds of people back home in Quebec who would love, you know, to get to interact with people and see people loving the game.
Yes, exactly.
Because I think that's what makes it worth it. It's a 3-year process. You know, we all work very hard. Everyone's very passionate about bringing it to life, but they don't always get to see the other side of it. The people actually enjoying their game.
So, because you were so passionate and so excited to hear about that you're going to write about the Greek mythology, how hard was it not to tell anyone? Or...
Oh my God, the hardest. It was the hardest thing I had. That, you know, it's funny. I've been asked, you know, what's my biggest challenge on the project, and I think you just nailed it. I think that was the biggest challenge, was keeping it a secret, because it's like I'm working on my favorite thing in the world.
Exactly, you want to scream it out of the top of the roof, yeah. That's awesome. Well,
I don't know, just a quick. So during the interview, when Mel McCoubry was asking me questions, she was like, she was like, have you ever played any Ubisoft games? You know, and I talked about Assassin's Creed, and I talked about Far Cry, and she said, okay, if you had to set a Far Cry game in a time period in the past, when would you set it? I'm like, you know, probably ancient Greece. Probably ancient Greece. She's like, oh, interesting. Okay, straight face. She's like, all right. Wow. If you had to design your own video game, what would it be about? And I'm like, you know, maybe Spartans. Something to do with Spartans and Spartan training. I really love the Spartan warriors and all that. She's like, oh, okay, interesting.
Straight face, no.
Didn't, you know, and she goes, if you had to see a problem in video games today, what do you think is a problem that could be solved? You know, I'm like, strong female protagonists. I think that could be a thing, you know. And again, straight face. I don't know how she kept a poker face during all of that.
That is amazing.
Little did I know I was actually talking about the game I would be working on. So
yeah, it's fate.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations on an amazing game.
Thank you.
It's really great, and I play it all the time. I can't wait to play it further. So
Yeah,
thank
cool.
you.
Cool, man.
Cool.
Yeah,
Nice meeting you.